Hello and welcome to Meetuinsidegamer. This is Melted63285 and I'm having a pretty good show for you today. Today I want to talk a little bit about retro games, an Xbox big reveal, and also go over a few items you can check out with your Xbox controller. If you've been one of those having a lot of trouble with your controllers, like going out or acting weird, I may have a couple of fixes for you. So let's get started. You know, retro games, that's become a big deal now. I notice everybody's getting them, and I wasn't sure why at first. I was like, well, I like retro games just like the next guy, but you know, the newest stuff out, it's hard to get into it. But then I went and I got one. And what I realized, I love handheld games. If there's anything I miss more than wow, that's probably the one thing I miss is handheld games. Our games weren't as fancy when I was young, but we definitely had enough handheld games that we could carry along with us. Nowadays, mostly people just have a Nintendo Switch. And Nintendo Switches are expensive. They cost as much as a regular console. And in actuality, they are a regular console. So you got to think of that sometimes when you're buying these things. Don't want to spend that much money on something that's just a handheld. Well, what I did find out was with retro games, some of your favorite games that you played when you were young are available, even the arcade games, on these retro game handhelds, and they're not bad. While searching Amazon, I found what we call the Pow Kitty X16. I bought this, and I was kind of suspicious because it only cost me just about 49 bucks. That was after taxes and everything. I said, wow, you know, it came right away in about 2 weeks. And when I got this thing, I was pretty impressed with it. One of the things that impressed me was, one, the picture quality wasn't bad. It played pretty good retro games and arcade games that I remember. The thing's loaded. It says with 200 games, but what I found is just about 80 games on here already preloaded. They say you can preload other games, but I'm gonna be honest with you, it's a pretty good machine. It's got kind of a rubbery feel to it. It seems very sturdy. It's lighter than what I expected, but the screen is bigger than the Nintendo Switch. It has two joysticks here that move pretty well, and it has a pretty good volume on it. The speakers on here aren't great, but it does play music, it takes pictures, and like I said, it's a pretty handy machine. It has a camera in the back, and to be honest, it's just like a 2 megapixel, but it's a camera and it does work. It also has a 2 joysticks on the edges here, and good volume control and loss of control. So I've been pretty happy with it. They say it can download MP4s. However, I've not been able to do that with this yet. But if you're looking to get your kid a handheld game and you don't want to spend $399 to $400 for a Nintendo Switch or a Nintendo DS $200, this is a great option, especially for small kids. It has about 80 games on here preloaded. They're fun games. Many of these games are taken directly from arcade games that were played in the past, like maybe the late 80s or the early 90s, and they're still fun. They're still fun. So you'll find the Street Fighter games on here and things of that nature. This is a great game for, you know, someone you don't really want to get on the gaming system. They're maybe 6 or 7 years old. You don't really want them on the internet trading games, but you want them to be able to have something that's just for them. This is it. This was a great game. It came right away. It's called Pow Kitty X16. It looks like it did come from China though. And I think it's just an all-around great little item, sort of handheld item a kid can carry without giving them a phone or some sort of expensive Nintendo Switch. And yet they could have loads of fun with this. So that's one. And if you're nostalgic, it's great. I keep it and take it places because some of these games, you know, they're just fun. They weren't as challenging as they are today. This is a game I got for my son. I have a 10-year-old myself. I bought him this. And this thing here was a Sonic game. It was came out by Sega a while back. It was a total of, I want to say this was actually more than the Pow Kitty. This at the time cost me, I want to say it was about 50 bucks or 55. It wasn't cheap. It's a little smaller. However, the graphics are pretty good. A lot of simple games. There are about 200 games on here. Great speakers, very loud, it's very comfortable. And the great thing I like about this is it basically can be carried in your pocket. So if you have a small child, or your kid likes retro games, or you like retro games and you just like to play every once in a while, you can utilize this and play and not have to worry about, you know, do I have enough games on here? Because you can actually load more games on here with an SD card. So this is definitely an option. If you like games, you like to kind of play, but you don't want to use your phone to fill it up with games, you can put a lot of old Sega games, if you were a Sega Gear guy, right on here. And it's like I said, they have all the Sonics on here and a pretty good variety of games. So you might like that, and this is something you might want to take a look at. Pretty good picture, not a very large screen though. But I did enjoy it. When I bought it for my son, he's had loads of fun on that. Of course, he has a Nintendo Switch now, but when he was younger, like 7, this is pretty much what I have for him. The Pow Kitty I just bought, I wish I'd known of that first. I might have gotten him that because it has the camera and everything. This right here has no camera. It doesn't play music. It's simply a little gaming system. This is almost like sort of a knockoff from a Nintendo Switch, but cheaper and not badly made, I have to admit. Now let's talk about some controller issues. I don't know about you, but my Xbox controller, man, it seems like I bought like 10 of them. Every once in a while, for some reason, I can't tell you why, my Xbox controller goes on the fritz. I'll go to move it and it'll skip like 3 or 4 places, or it just won't respond. Now, of course, sometimes this is my own fault. I allow my son to play on my system and he gets my controllers are sticky and they can make buttons stick. But sometimes I have no idea what to do. There are a lot of places you go on the internet on how to reset your controllers, and on YouTube, and what you can do if your controller is acting up. But one simple thing to try right away, and I would tell everybody to do this, is just go to your accessories where it shows you your controllers. Go to settings, go to accessories where it shows a picture of a controller, and you want to go down and you want to do a test on the controller. You'll know it's a test because it'll have sort of a little scientific bottle there, potion bottle. Hit that, and this will tell you initially if there's some button stuck or something obviously wrong with the controller, like, you know, this right button is sticking and it's not coming up. You need to work on that. Or this right stick, you need to punch it because it's kind of sticking. It's not doing what it's supposed to do. This can tell you whether your controller is broken, not programmed. It also does updates. So if you have an old controller you haven't used for a while, it might just need updating. So you might just need to do that. Okay? Other than that, this should be pretty good. And I just wanted to share that because I can tell you right now, I have probably, for my one Xbox One system, I probably have about 10 or 12 controllers because at one time or another they went out. Then I realized, you know, some quick fixes and some quick, you know, diagnostic tools that I could use. So I'm just sharing that with you. If you're having problems with your controllers, start with your Xbox, go to your accessories, and it might be able to identify your problem and fix it right away. Other than that, let's talk about this Xbox reveal. Xbox just came out with this reveal. It said that they're coming out with an Xbox S or Xbox Series S. Everybody was thinking it was going to be a Lockhart, and I heard that name thrown around. But no, what this is a digital system. It's about half the size of the Xbox Series X, but it does a lot of the same stuff. The frames per second, you're still going to get greater than 60 frames per second, which is awesome. The ray tracing is going to be there. It's going to be a next generation system, but it's going to only be digital. That being the case, it comes on board with about 512 gigabytes. And that's not a lot. I mean, most of us who game, we know that 512 gigabytes, well, 2 games loaded on and that'll fill it up. However, I'm sure you can buy expansion memory. So having expansion memory may cost you a little more money, even up to 150 bucks. However, that's not a big problem because the system itself cost only $299. Now this was great news. This was awesome news. Why? Because everybody was concerned that these systems were going to be well over $500. And they're saying now the Xbox Series X is only going to be $499, which I think that's not cheap. However, that's a very powerful box, and you are definitely going to get your money's worth. I was actually looking around maybe $600 or even more. So I think $499 is a reasonable price. I like the PS5, but I haven't heard much about their pricing, but I'm sure it's not going to be too much different. You know, this is a competitive race. They might even try and beat Xbox on their pricing. Pre-orders start on the Xbox September 22nd, so set that date aside so you can maybe order yours. I imagine pre-orders have already started for PS5. That's the rumor I heard. So I know pricing is going to be following this, or pricing is already out there if people are pre-ordering, but I just haven't heard. Nevertheless, like I said, I'm probably going to get both boxes. I like the PlayStations as well as I like the Xbox, so I'm probably going to have them both. The only difference now is I'm not sure if I'm going to get them both with disc loaders. You know, if you listen to my podcast on Meetuinsidegamers, you can catch that on Apple or Spotify or even Breakers. In my podcast, I say quite often, I prefer games that have a disc loader on them. Maybe I'm old-fashioned that way, but I do prefer them. And but now looking at this Xbox Series S, and that's created another option for me. I'll probably get them both, but I'm not sure both of them will have disc loaders. I'm gonna have to make that decision. And so will you, depending on what you want. Nevertheless, I have to admit, it's been pretty exciting this year to watch two game consoles kind of go to battle. I mean, it's been punch in the face after punch in the face, and I still call them equal at this point. At the end of the day, we're gonna find out who wins. I can say Xbox is definitely throwing the hardware out there. They're letting you know what you're getting for your money in physical pieces. But PlayStation has been really good about making sure they get enough information about their games, their exclusives, and this is something they always do. They specialize in what they're good at, gaming. The biggest thing I heard from PlayStation that I liked was they said they're gonna have a new dashboard. I think anyone who has a PlayStation 4, which I do as well, they love the games. It's the dashboard somewhat confusing at times. You know, it's just not as easy to get around as Xbox. But they say they're gonna fix that this time. And they're gonna have a whole new system with new controllers. So, we'll have to wait and see. It's getting pretty close. Think about it. We're getting under the 90-day mark where we're gonna see these games coming out. And people are already gonna start pre-ordering them this month. So, I hear November 10th, but I'm not sure. I'll get back with you on that. In the meantime, keep gaming out there, folks. This is Melted Zoo 63285, and this is Meet You Inside Gamers.